What did your sibling do that made you realize they were a monster? My sister Chloe was always praised as the easy child. 2 years older, quiet, meticulous, and with grades that were mathematically perfect. While other siblings fought, Chloe and I simply existed. She was the sunlight in one room, and I was the shadow in another. I didn't see a sister, I saw the observer. I knew she was different the day we lost our pet hamster, Whiskers. The cage was latched, the house searched, but he was gone. Later that day, I found his little body hidden on a high shelf above my bed. He hadn't escaped. He'd been placed there to starve or suffocate. Only Chloe, with her gymnast strength, could have reached it. When I found her later, stacking blocks with chilling focus, I asked her about it. She met my eyes, those pale, unblinking eyes, and said, in a perfectly flat voice, he was a distraction. It wasn't malice or cruelty, it was expediency. Chloe didn't value life. She valued order. I kept silent, rationalizing it for years as just a weird, tragic accident. But Chloe's need for order manifested in other ways. In high school, she'd accidentally sabotage my debate competitors. In college, she manufactured a fight that ended my closest friendship. Each action was precise, small scale, and aimed at removing anyone or anything that took my focus away from her, or that threatened her perfect life. I spent a decade seeing a manipulative sister. It took my father's death for me to see the monster. Dad left his estate to Mom, with the standard instruction that it would be split between us upon her passing. 3 months later, Mom started falling critically ill. Chronic fatigue, dizzy spells, baffling weight loss. Doctors were confused. Every standard test was negative. Chloe, the model daughter, immediately moved back home to care for Mom. She took over the cooking, the medication, the schedule. She was the warden, and I was the visitor. But the patterns were too stark. Mom would rally when I cooked, only to relapse after Chloe's meals. I brought a special tea that seemed to help. The next day, Chloe claimed she'd tossed it for being expired. The little acts of cold, quiet control were too much to ignore. My childish fear returned, mixed with a grown-up dread. I looked at the bottles of Mom's supplements, their labels slightly peeled, and I saw the hamster cage. I saw the observer preparing to remove her final, largest obstacle to Dad's money, our mother. I had to find proof before it was too late. I couldn't go to the police on a hunch. I contacted a college friend, a forensic chemist, and devised a risky plan. The next time Chloe was out, I acted fast. I carefully collected 3 samples, a scraping of residue from Mom's water glass, a pinch of powder from her vitamin bottle, and a small trace from a kitchen surface Chloe used. I sealed them, mailed them off, and spent the next week living in a state of paralyzing terror, waiting for confirmation that my sister was, in fact, systematically poisoning our mother. The results arrived in a clinical, blunt email. Trace contaminant found. The poison was thallium, a heavy metal, odorless, and colorless. It's a slow-acting poison that perfectly mimics the symptoms of chronic illnesses and is nearly undetectable in routine tests. It was the weapon of a calculated, meticulous killer. It was the perfect crime for Chloe. I rushed the report to the hospital's head of internal medicine. I didn't explain the years of quiet paranoia. I just laid the report down and demanded that my mother be tested immediately and protected. The situation escalated within an hour. A specialized test confirmed the poisoning. Mom was moved to a high-security wing. The police found the poison, hidden in a decoy spice rack in Chloe's room. The day they arrested her, I watched the news report from Mom's hospital room. Chloe was let out in handcuffs. She wasn't fighting. She wasn't crying. She walked out with the same quiet, controlled composure she'd carried her entire life. As the officer pushed her into the patrol car, the camera zoomed in. Just before the door slammed shut, Chloe turned her head and looked directly into the lens. And in that split second, I saw her final terrifying expression. It wasn't fear or regret or anger. It was contempt. Contempt that I, the messy, loud, emotional little sister, had finally managed to interfere with her perfectly ordered plan. Chloe was sentenced to life. The judge cited the chilling premeditation and utter lack of remorse. My mother survived, but she's forever broken. And I was left with the final, cold certainty that what I thought was a cruel sister was, in reality, a monster. A predator who had lived inside our family home for 2 decades, hidden behind perfect manners and a quiet need for absolute, deadly order.